Welcome to Echoes of Myth, The Serpent's Oath, a journey into a forgotten world where legends breathe and shadows whisper ancient truths. Hidden beneath centuries of silence lies a pact forged in blood and betrayal. Join us as we uncover lost histories, confront cursed destinies, and awaken the serpent that slumbers beneath myth and memory. Are you ready to follow the echoes and face the oath that could change everything? What are the echoes of myth? The phrase echoes of myth is rich with metaphor and meaning. On a literal level, it suggests the reverberation or lingering presence of ancient myths, stories passed down through generations, echoing across time. But more deeply, it implies that these ancient narratives are not dead. Rather, they persist in subtle ways, shaping our modern lives, values, fears, and dreams. Echoes are never the original sound. They are reflections, distortions, reminders. They carry the shape of a truth without repeating it exactly. When applied to myth, this concept reveals how humanity's oldest stories still influence the present in evolved, hidden, or reinterpreted forms. This idea invites us to explore how myth continues to echo through art, literature, religion, psychology, and even pop culture. Why do stories of gods, monsters, heroes, and creation persist? What makes them timeless? And how are their echoes still heard today? The nature and function of myth. To understand what an echo of myth might be, we must first define what a myth is. A defining myth. A myth is not simply a falsehood, as the word is sometimes used in everyday language. In scholarly terms, a myth is a traditional story rooted in a particular culture, often involving supernatural beings or forces, which explains aspects of the world, human behavior, or spiritual beliefs. Myths serve several functions. Explanatory, describing the origins of the universe, natural phenomena, or human customs. Moral/ethical, teaching values and lessons. Psychological, helping individuals navigate inner struggles or existential questions. Socio-cultural, uniting communities through shared narratives and symbols. Examples include Greek myths like the story of Prometheus, who gave fire to humanity, Norse myths like Ragnarok, the apocalypse of the gods, and creation stories from countless indigenous traditions around the world. B. Archetypes and universal themes. Carl Jung, a Swiss psychologist, introduced the idea of archetypes, recurring symbols or character types found across myths and cultures. These include the hero, the shadow, the wise old man, and the great mother. Joseph Campbell later built on this idea in The Hero with 1,000 Faces, describing the monomyth or hero's journey. These patterns are part of the echoes we still hear today. Modern stories borrow heavily from these archetypes, intentionally or not. 2. Myths through time, from oral tradition to modern media. A. Oral and written transmission. Myths were originally passed down orally, through songs, rituals, and storytelling. These oral traditions were flexible, adapting over time to fit the values and needs of the culture. Later, they were codified in writing, such as the Iliad, the Epic of Gilgamesh, or the Popol Vuh, preserving a version of the myth for posterity. Yet even written myths evolved. They were retold, translated, and interpreted through new lenses, keeping them alive and responsive to changing times. B. Myths' rebirth in literature and art. The Renaissance revived Greco-Roman myths in painting and poetry. The Romantic movement infused myths with emotion and mystery. In the 20th century, myth re-emerged in modernist literature. T.S. Eliot's The Waste Land, for example, is filled with mythic allusions. Contemporary fantasy literature is perhaps the clearest heir to ancient myth. Authors like J.R.R. Tolkien, who drew on Norse and Anglo-Saxon myth, and Neil Gaiman, who reimagines gods in modern settings, keep myths alive by reshaping them for today's world. 3. Echoes in the present. How myths shape our world today. So what exactly are the echoes of myth in the modern world? A. In popular culture. Popular films and books are saturated with mythic elements, often without audiences realizing it. Star Wars is built on Campbell's hero's journey. Marvel's Thor brings Norse mythology into the superhero genre. Percy Jackson and the Olympians reimagines Greek gods in a modern setting. The Matrix, Harry Potter, and Avatar all borrow mythological structures and symbols. These are not copies of ancient myths, but echoes, transformations that resonate with familiar patterns. B. In language and symbols. Many everyday phrases have mythic roots. Opening Pandora's box. Achilles' heel. Sisyphean task. Even brands echo myths. Nike, the Greek goddess of victory. Amazon, mythical warrior women. And Mars, the Roman god of war. Symbols like the serpent, the phoenix, or the labyrinth continue to appear across media and culture, often representing transformation, rebirth, or inner conflict. C. In psychology and spirituality. Jungian psychology sees myths as expressions of the collective unconscious, shared psychic structures of humanity. In this view, myths are not just old stories, but living frameworks for understanding ourselves. Modern spiritual practices often revive mythic elements, too. New Age movements may invoke goddess figures or ancient rituals. Even contemporary religions often reinterpret older mythologies, e.g., the Christian devil sharing features with pagan trickster gods. 4. Why do the echoes persist? Why don't myths fade away completely? Why do they keep returning? A. Myths address universal human experiences. Myths speak to core aspects of being human: birth, death, love, conflict, fear, transcendence. These themes don't change, even if the world does. We still seek to explain the unexplainable. We still wrestle with good and evil, identity and destiny, freedom and fate. Myths give us a symbolic language to explore these tensions. B. Myths evolve with us. Because myths are symbolic rather than literal, they are adaptable. A serpent in one myth might mean evil, in another wisdom. The same myth can be told in many forms: ancient poem, medieval painting, graphic novel, video game. The more a myth is retold, the more it reflects the culture retelling it. This flexibility keeps myths relevant, allowing them to echo in every age. C. Myths offer a sense of continuity. In an era of rapid change, myths connect us to something older, deeper, and enduring. They remind us that we are part of a longer human story, that others before us struggled with the same questions we face now. This is why fantasy, folklore, and mythic storytelling thrive in times of uncertainty. They provide not just escape, but meaning. V. Echoes as warnings and lessons. Not all mythic echoes are comforting. Some serve as cautionary tales. The myth of Icarus warns against overambition. The Tower of Babel cautions about hubris. The serpent in the Garden of Eden echoes in debates over temptation, knowledge, and transgression. These myths are echoed in dystopian fiction, moral arguments, and ethical dilemmas. Their symbols resurface when society wrestles with power, technology, or identity. The echoes remind us of dangers we've always faced, even if the form changes. 6. Creative potential. Using echoes of myth in storytelling. For writers, artists, and creators, echoes of myth is a powerful conceptual tool. Rather than retell myths directly, creators can reinterpret mythic themes in new settings, e.g., retelling the myth of Orpheus in a cyberpunk world. Build new stories on ancient structures, e.g., the hero's journey or the trickster's tale. Combine myths from different cultures to explore cross-cultural truths. This approach allows creators to innovate while tapping into something ancient and resonant. Consider a post-apocalyptic world where old gods return through AI systems. A courtroom drama that replays the judgment of Osiris. A coming-of-age story echoing the trials of Hercules. These stories don't have to feel mythological in style. They just need to reflect those deep, timeless currents. Audiences will feel the echoes, even if they don't consciously recognize them. Listening for the echoes. Echoes of myth reminds us that ancient stories never truly die. They transform, evolve, and whisper through new forms: films, books, music, art, psychology, and dreams. These echoes are not just literary devices. They are threads of human memory, binding past to present. To hear them is to recognize the timeless in the timely. It's to realize that every time we tell a story about a hero, a sacrifice, a forbidden knowledge, or a transformation, we're participating in something older than civilization. In a world obsessed with novelty, myths remind us that the old still speaks, and that the deepest truths often echo from the oldest tales. So listen closely. The serpent still speaks. The gods still walk among shadows. And the myths, though quiet, still echo. The coiling promise. The serpent's oath is a phrase heavy with symbolism and narrative weight. It brings together two deeply resonant concepts. The serpent, a figure of primal power found in mythologies across the world, and the oath, a solemn, binding promise, often unbreakable, sometimes cursed. Together, they evoke the image of a powerful pact made in ancient times, one that carries far-reaching consequences across time, generations, or even the fate of the world. This concept, whether used in a myth, story, or symbolic context, suggests an intertwining of wisdom and danger, truth and deceit, rebirth and destruction. The serpent does not make casual vows. Its oath is a contract of destiny. The serpent in myth, a universal archetype. The serpent is one of the most enduring and complex symbols in mythology, appearing in religious, spiritual, and folkloric traditions across continents and centuries. What makes it so fascinating is its duality. It represents creation and destruction, healing and poison, life and death. The serpent as wisdom and rebirth. In many cultures, serpents are seen as symbols of knowledge, transformation, and eternal return. Ancient Egypt, the cobra was associated with the goddess Wadjet, protector of the pharaoh. The Ouroboros, a serpent eating its own tail, represented the cyclical nature of existence, the eternal return. Greece, Asclepius, the god of healing, wielded a staff with a serpent coiled around it, a symbol still used in modern medicine. India, in Hinduism, the serpent god Naga represents both protection and hidden knowledge. The cosmic serpent Ananta supports the universe itself. Mesoamerica, Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, was a god of wind, learning, and creation among the Aztecs and Maya. These examples show that the serpent, while feared, was also revered as a keeper of secrets and a guardian of deeper truths. The serpent as temptation and chaos. Yet the serpent also has a darker side. In many traditions, it embodies temptation, trickery, or primordial chaos. Judeo-Christian tradition. In the book of Genesis, the serpent tempts Eve to eat the forbidden fruit, leading to humanity's fall. This single act redefined the serpent in Western tradition as a deceiver and enemy of God. Norse mythology, Jormungandr, the world serpent, is so massive it encircles the earth. At Ragnarok, the end of the world, it will rise and battle the god Thor, poisoning the skies. African mythology. In some traditions, serpents guard sacred knowledge, but also represent danger when their domain is disrespected. Chinese mythology. The dragon, often considered a serpent-like creature, is a symbol of imperial power, but also of storms and transformation. Thus, the serpent is neither good nor evil. It is beyond such binaries. It is a force of nature, a being of balance and disruption. 2. The meaning of an oath, sacred promise or curse pact. An oath is not merely a vow. It is a binding agreement, often with spiritual or supernatural implications. Breaking an oath in myth usually results in dire consequences. In Norse myths, the gods swear oaths on Yggdrasil, the world tree. These oaths are sacred and unbreakable. In Greek mythology, the gods swear by the river Styx. If they break their oath, they suffer a year of silence and exile. In Celtic tradition, Gisa, singular, geis, were magical oaths or taboos that could not be violated without catastrophe. In epic literature, oaths often mark pivotal moments, alliances, betrayals, and doomed destinies. Oaths have always been seen as ties to cosmic or divine law. When one swears an oath, especially one made to or by a serpent, one binds oneself to a truth that can't easily be escaped. 3. The serpent's oath, interpretations and symbolism. Combining these two elements, the serpent and the oath, creates a concept that is rich with narrative and symbolic depth. A. The serpent as the oath giver. In this interpretation, the serpent is a keeper of ancient laws or forbidden knowledge. An oath made by the serpent might represent a divine pact to protect or destroy the world at a certain time, a promise of vengeance made in the distant past, now awakening, a sacred curse passed through generations, bound to bloodlines or artifacts. Such an oath could be subtle, a whisper in a dream, a mark on the skin, a serpent-shaped relic waiting to awaken its curse. B. The oath made to the serpent. Here, the serpent becomes the recipient of devotion or betrayal. A mortal or god may swear fealty to the serpent for power beyond human comprehension, forbidden knowledge or prophecy, protection in exchange for obedience. But oaths to serpent-like entities are rarely clean. They often come with hidden prices, transformation, madness, death, or servitude. Think of Faustian bargains or deals with ancient beings beyond time. 4. Mythic examples of the serpent's oath. While there may not be a single myth titled the serpent's oath, echoes of this concept appear in many global traditions. A. The Genesis temptation as an oath of knowledge. In the Garden of Eden, the serpent offers knowledge, not force. By accepting the fruit, Eve enters into a kind of unspoken pact, one that severs humanity from innocence. The serpent does not lie. It tells her she will not die, and that her eyes will be opened. In this view, the serpent offers truth at a cost. This can be seen as an oath of transformation. To accept truth is to be forever changed. B. Quetzalcoatl's return. In Mesoamerican myth, Quetzalcoatl is prophesied to return. This idea of return is a kind of cosmic promise, an oath woven into time. The god's eventual reappearance is tied to cycles, justice, and renewal. Such a myth suggests that the serpent god swore an oath not to abandon the world, but to return when it is ready. See Jormungandr and Ragnarok. In Norse mythology, Jormungandr's presence around the earth is a living curse, a serpent containing chaos. But its release is fated. When the world ends, Jormungandr will rise. This is not a choice, but a destined oath, a cycle tied to cosmic law. Here, the serpent's oath is inscribed in time itself. The end must come, and the serpent will honor that pact. V. Narrative potential. The serpent's oath in modern storytelling. This concept lends itself powerfully to modern myth-making. Whether you're writing a fantasy novel, designing a game, or crafting a symbolic narrative, the serpent's oath offers layers of meaning. A. Themes to explore. Power and price. What must be given up to receive the serpent's favor? Forbidden knowledge. What truths are too dangerous to know? Transformation. How does the oath change the one who swears it? Cycles and destiny. Is the oath part of a prophecy or eternal return? Moral ambiguity. Is the serpent evil or simply misunderstood? B. Possible narrative hooks. A forgotten pact. An ancient civilization swore an oath to a buried serpent deity for protection. Millennia later, the descendant of the original priesthood begins to dream in the serpent's voice. The god is awakening to collect what was promised. The broken oath. A serpent once swore never to interfere with the world of men. But humanity's greed has broken the balance, and the serpent returns, not in rage, but in sorrow, to end what it began. The serpent's chosen. A child is born with a mark, a serpent coiled in an Ouroboros. Their life is bound by an ancient oath their ancestor made, to either destroy the world or save it when the stars align. A cursed bloodline. Generations ago, an ancestor made a deal with a serpent god for power. Now the oath passes down the family line. Each heir must either renew it or find a way to break it. 6. The serpent's oath as personal metaphor. Beyond mythology and fiction, the serpent's oath can also be read as a personal or psychological metaphor. The serpent represents our deeper instincts, our hidden wisdom, our fears. The oath is the promise we make to ourselves, the path we commit to, even unknowingly. In this view, taking the serpent's oath might mean accepting one's shadow self, the parts of us we fear, repress, or ignore, and integrating them into wholeness. It is an internal pact. I will not deny my truth, even if it changes me. Jungian psychology might call this individuation, the integration of the unconscious into conscious identity, the promise that coils through time. The serpent's oath is a phrase that evokes layers of history, myth, and meaning. It reminds us that some promises outlast memory. Some truths are kept hidden not to protect us, but to prepare us. And some forces, like the serpent, never truly die. They wait, coiled in shadow, for the right moment to speak again. Whether seen as divine contract, mythic curse, or psychological awakening, the serpent's oath invites us to ask, what promises bind us? What truths do we fear? And if the serpent spoke, would we listen or run? One thing is certain. When the serpent makes an oath, the world listens. Thanks for diving into Echoes of Myth, the Serpent's Oath. If you enjoyed unraveling the legend and want more myth-inspired mysteries, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss an echo from the past. Share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think the serpent's true oath was? Follow us on socials for behind-the-scenes lore and teasers. Until next time, stay curious, stay bold, and remember, some myths aren't just stories, they're warnings. See you in the next chapter of Echoes of Myth. The serpent watches, and the oath still binds.